Hello there. Well, now that I have access to Disney Plus through my cable package, it's free with ads. So there's ads, but it's fine. They pop up like they're commercials, so it works better. And unlike commercial breaks, only like one or two ads, maybe even three. But excuse me, it's fine. But due to that, I can now bring you the Spider-Man retrospective. Something I've wanted to do for a long time. I have the DVD releases that they came out with, the different volumes like Daredevil vs. Spider-Man, Spider-Man vs. Doc Ock, Ultimate Villain Showdown, the Venom Saga, and Return of the Green Goblin. Those are the five that were released by Buena Vista Video. I thought about talking about those, but uh, but now I'm just going to talk about the whole show. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to try to bust through these as quickly as I can. There's another show on Disney Plus I want to talk about too, because I don't know how long I'm going to have this shit. So I'm going to try to do what I can when I can. So, yeah. So, Spider-Man the Animated Series came out in 1994, brought to us Marvel Entertainment and John Semper Jr., the producer of the show. Yes. It was one of my favorite comic book shows. This is what introduced me to Spider-Man. I had some toys. My cousin, though, who lived in Missouri, he had a whole bunch of this shit. He had a bunch of the Spider-Mans, the villains. He had the Spider Slayer, the connected together. He had a bunch of the toys. And I'd go there and visit him and we play. Yeah. I had the more Power Rangers stuff and he had the Spider-Man. But it aired on Fox Kids from 1994 to 1997, 8, 7. It's 4 years. It lasted 5 seasons, and it is in the same universe as the X-Men cartoon, the Iron Man cartoon, the Incredible Hulk cartoon, and the Fantastic Four cartoon. I don't think the Silver Surfer cartoon is in that universe. I don't think it is. It's never established that it is, unlike the other ones. And I know it's never established that Incredible Hulk was supposed to be in that universe, but it was always meant to be. If it wasn't for UPN not allowing that to happen. When we eventually get to all that, we'll get to it, but yes. This is the first episode, the night of the Lizard. Why couldn't I remember the name? First episode of the series introduced the iconic villain of the Lizard, aka Kirk Connors. Yes. Now, when I was getting ready for this, I was thinking, I always thought it was interesting that they don't give you, this is a show for kids, primarily, even though it was a little more, maybe not as grown up as X-Men, but it was a little more grown up than usual cartoons would be, which is why I liked it. They didn't talk down to you. So I always like the fact that they don't give you an origin story, not till later. He explains it in like season 2 or 3, whatever it was. Maybe, I think it was season 2. 3. One of the seasons. He plays and goes back to tell someone what happened. But we don't get, other than the opening credits, which we'll talk about in a minute, we don't really get an origin. We see it in the credits where he gets bit by the spider and it changed, But other than that, we don't really get much of an explanation. Having said that, it does feel like they just drop you into this world. You're not introduced to any characters. You're supposed to already know who these characters are. You're supposed to know who J. Jonah Jameson is, who Robbie Robertson is, who Eddie Brock is. It's almost as if they went, if they're fans of the comic books, they're going to know these characters. Sure. But Deborah Whitman, I think she was made for this show. It just, I'm watching this and I'm going, this feels like we just dropped in the middle of it. What kid is going to understand these characters, really? I understand it because I've seen this show a bazillion times. I we started watching this with my son at my mom's, and he liked it, but he never complains or says anything. If he has a question to ask, he'll ask it. But I don't know. I can't imagine why he wouldn't ask me so many questions here, because there's a lot you can go by. But to start the episode, we get the theme song brought to you by Joe Perry of Aerosmith. Which, yes, is nodded to later in the Alien Costume 3-parter. Oh, before I get into it, multi-parters, 2, 3, whatever parters, I'm covering as one episode. I know I don't usually do that with Doctor Who when I do the retrospectives, except for the End of Time, because I had the same name, and that's why. But when we get to season 2, 3, and 4, they have a title heading, and then chapter 1, this is this. I'll cover those separate, unless it's like a 2-part situation, which is like... Well, the Return of Venom and Carnage is technically 2 parts, but they're different, named differently. They don't have the same name. But like when you get to season 5 and you have those multi-parters there, it's easier just to cover them and all together. We'll see. Yeah. So we start in the sewer. A sewer? Yes, a sewer. So she curled her mouth up. No, that's from Happy Days. Start in the sewer. 2 construction guys are attacked by some kind of creature with red glowing eyes. One of the construction workers gets out and drives his car menacingly down the road, which attracts, wouldn't you know it, Spider-Man. And again, our introduction to Spider-Man is him just swinging. We don't get in, hi, I'm Spider-Man. You know, like the introduction in the movie, you don't get, who am I? Are you sure you want to know? At least there's an introduction. He's just swinging, and he's just casually talking about swinging, and he stops the guy from crashing his vehicle, and asks what happened. He's like, the eyes. He won't believe that there's some kind of creature in the sewer. So he goes to the Daily Bugle, and again, we're introduced to J. Jonah Jameson, as voiced here by Edward Asner. And Robbie Robertson, whose voice I do not know. By the way, Spider-Man, Peter Parker, is voiced by Christopher Daniel Barnes. You may know from the Brady Bunch movie. Or Malcolm and Eddie. There's a deep cut for you. Yeah. And he's great, as you'll see as we go further on. He is very good at the voice acting in this. Yeah. J. Jonah Jameson wants pictures of the lizard, which apparently is what the construction worker guy said happened. We also get introduced to Eddie Brock, who, quite surprisingly, is voiced by Hank Azaria. Yeah, you wouldn't know to tell it. You hearing this guy's voice, you wouldn't be able to know that it's Hank Azaria. This man has a million voices. He's like Frank Welker or what's his name? Tuned in. Tip of my tongue. He's the voice of Darkwing Duck. And many others. Jim Cummings. There it is. He's like that. He does a bunch of them on The Simpsons. When he's allowed to. They had to replace Apu because he's not actually Indian. Who cares? It's called voice acting. Whatever. Even his New York accent he does in Godzilla is different than the New York accent he does for Eddie Brock. That's how different it is. But, they say, JJ said whoever gets a picture of the lizard will get a $1,000 bonus. Which is... that's a big thing. So, while pondering what he's going to spend the money on, he comes home to Aunt May and finds out that she's behind on the rent, which she hides by just shoving it underneath some books. Yet that's gonna hide it. And I do like how he's like, and here I was trying to figure out what I was to spend my money on, and I should be helping out Aunt May, which is true, you know. It's true. It's true. So, yeah. So he decides to take the job and begins by looking where else but the sewers, where he has an encounter with the lizard. He does try to take a picture. He sets it up to take that later. I don't know. But it doesn't. He takes off. He actually does get one picture. So he takes a picture with his camera, and then the next shot we see him holding the picture in the rain. So I'm assuming this is a freshly developed picture. Freshly developed pictures, they're not very stable. My mom used to work in a photo booth, so I should know. And he's just carrying it out in the middle of the rain, and he's looking at it. That's when we're introduced to Deborah Whitman, who's the original character in this. I don't think she's from the comics, unless they added her retroactively like Harley Quinn. I never seen anything else but this. But they go to see Dr. Connors, and they find his office trashed. It's dark, and Dr. Connors says, "No, stay away." And it looks as if the lizard is kidnapping Dr. Connors. Although you can tell the way he's carrying it's not Dr. Connors, and you can tell by the voice that it is Doc Connors. Yeah. Of course, if you know the comic books, right? There's a weird edit here. Because first of all, he's about to just become Spider-Man, and Deborah's right there. She stops himself. She's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, And then there's a weird edit where she asks, "Why would this lizard kidnap Kirk Connors?" I'm guessing they didn't know where to put this flashback in the episode, so we get a random flashback to him using what we will come to find out is the neogenic recombinator. Remember that word, neogenic. Become very important in season 2. To help regrow limbs with this neogenics. He helps regrow the limbs of a mouse. And then it cuts back to Spider-Man. Like, why would he kidnap him? Like, why was that flashback there? Yeah, right? So, Spider-Man decides to check out Connor's house. But who else is there but Eddie Brock, who is spying on it. He goes to talk to them, figure out what's going on, when the lizard attacks Eddie Brock outside. Before the lizard can do anything bad, we hear Billy, Connor's son, say, "No, Daddy, no." And the lizard takes off. Yes, that's when we find out that it is Dr. Connors. Yeah. And unfortunately, Eddie Brock has also heard this. Yes. But, yeah. So then we get the fight in the sewer. Does he kidnap his wife here? We get a fight in the sewer because he's going to use the neogenic recombinator because he kidnaps her, and he's going to use it to create a race of lizard people. He's going to start with his own family, because apparently they explain here that it messes with his brain, which like they did in Amazing Spider-Man as well. But yeah. So Spider-Man's able to take him down and use the neogenic recombinator to restore him. And the next day, Eddie Brock brings JJ. So here's the thing. He tries to take the picture with the camera again, and he gets knocked into the... So, when he's trying to take the picture, when he's fighting him in the yard, it's still pouring down rain. And the lizard knocks out of his hand with his tail and lands in a puddle. And he goes, "So much for my picture." I'm like, but you were already in the rain. If the rain wasn't already damaging your camera, you're not going to get a good shot in the rain. Again, my mom used to work in a photo booth. You're not going to get a good shot in the rain taking pictures. You're just not. Especially with a camera from 1994. Phones nowadays might get something. Because there's like HD. But a regular camera in 1994, not even digital, photo, right? Especially if it gets through the cracks and your film gets wet. Yeah, film. Yeah. No, you're not. Apparently it was okay when it was pouring down rain, but no. So Eddie Brock has brought JJ to the Connors house to prove that that Kirk Connors is the lizard. He said, if he's not the lizard, I'll eat today's edition of the Bugle. And when he comes out just fine, by the way, just because he walks out just fine is not proof that he isn't the lizard. He's just not transformed yet. But he's just not right now. But anyway, I do like JJ's response of, how do you like your paper? I like that. And we see that Peter did get the money. Because Parker already got us the pictures. So yes, he got the money, the $1,000 bonus, and he gave it to Aunt May to pay for the rent. Then yes. So yes, this is the first episode. There is no mention of Mary Jane Watson yet. Not even Felicia Hardy, who I believe was introduced first. I think they do weave Mary Jane into the story. But the only female character we get is Deborah Whitman. So if you're watching this and you're like, no Mary Jane Watson? Especially if you're from a newer generation who hasn't seen it, and the only female character you get besides Aunt May is Deborah Whitman. You're like, wait, where's Mary Jane? She's coming, just not yet. In fact, she's not even, if I remember correctly, she's not even the first female love interest that he meets. Deborah, I think he does have sort of a small thing for Deborah, but then it ends up just being Felicia and Mary Jane, because I don't think they could have juggled three. And that would kind of make him look like a playboy, and he's the hero. So, yeah, this is a good start, I think, to the series as we go forward. You know, yeah. So, what are your thoughts on this episode? Do I need to give it a rating? Should I? Should I give it a rating? What should I rate it on? Spider senses? Doesn't make any sense. Spider symbols? Nah, I'm just gonna whatever. And I'm not gonna rate it. This is a good episode, I think. It's a good first episode. Although, like I said earlier, for it being a first episode, there's not a lot of introduction stuff. You're just thrown into it. Would have liked a little more of an introduction thing, so to speak. I know you only got a half hour. It's an animated series for kids, so you're not really trying too hard. Though this show, like X-Men, does try pretty hard, but yeah, I don't know. So what are your thoughts on this episode? Leave a comment, make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I'm Sky, and I'll see you in the next one.